Good morning. I am higher vibrations, and so are you. And before we get started, I wanted to mention I did go and look at the comments before just a little bit ago, and I saw Carmen was first. So I have to just point that out because there's this little internal war going on between Vegan Vixen and Carmen, who's first. And so, welcome everybody. Today is a great day. There is so much happening in the heavens and the earth, and just there's I guess 65 active or active or erupting volcanoes across the planet right now at this moment. So that's really interesting. Anyway, so there's I I have this rare gift of getting to connect to a lot of different people across the planet, and on occasion you run into somebody who really holds a real calming, loving energy. And Dr. Dwaine, is that okay if I call you Dr. Dwaine, by the way?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That's fine.
Dr. Dwaine is one of those individuals. The Trance Alchemist is I noticed that's what you call yourself. You've been on so welcome. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me on your show.
Thank you for joining us. I have a lot of questions. That's why I was kind of stuttering. Um,
Oh, good, because I like questions.
Good. Well, let's start with the main one. What is a trance alchemist?
Well, a trance alchemy. When I was studying hypnotherapy in depth, I went to I went to many different teachers and different types of schools because I was interested in a certain type of work. I found and uncovered that really what hypnotherapy is about playing with the manifestation system within a person. That's what suggestions are, right? Now, when I started working with that, I started to realize that I was entering into a field that was a little different than regular hypnotherapy. Um, because of the fact that I was going into state changes rather than working on weight loss and stop smoking. I was working on different things because I had this strong feeling ever since I was a child that we were all gods and goddesses. We were just asleep. And so I could see the hypnosis that was going on in the world to keep us asleep. And so then I would reverse that and do reverse that trance like state that keeps us buried in limitation. So I couldn't really call it hypnotherapy anymore, although I am a hypnotherapist, a clinical hypnotherapist. But I had to come up with a new name, and trance alchemy, because we go into trance and we become our own alchemist within, right? There are interesting, beautiful tricks that we can do with ourselves that bring us into our ascension rather quickly, right? We don't have to waste a lot of time. But I mean, I've spent over 25 years in this field and improving and improving it, improving it, right? I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, that's a very thorough and beautiful answer. Thank you. Um, so, is this something that a person can do on their own to their self, or is it best to do with a practitioner or somebody else?
Well, the practitioner, the other thing that I have specialized in is elicitation. So I started out eliciting from people, maybe their success strategy or this sort of thing. But this all evolved as well in this practice. Now I can elicit their magical state within them, so that they can associate into that imaginal uh, magical state and create changes in their life from a different point of view. Like a lot of practitioners are doing it from a left brain concept or idea, and our true healing is over in the right. And so when we shift over to that right mind for a change, the noise goes away, and we sit in this beautiful unfoldment of ourselves. The more we trust that, the swifter everything becomes. There's a relationship in our mind, a relationship with our own. I call it the goddess within. And why do I call it that? Is because, even if it's a male, is because the masculine mind is the conscious mind, and the birther of these ideas is the goddess within us, and she's the one that births it. We have to learn to surrender, uh, to have a desire, a wish, and then surrender and build a relationship of knowingness, of knowing it'll happen with the goddess within. Right.
So
And
how
so
do
here we have also the original meaning of twin flames is the masculine, divine feminine. It's within you. Everything is within you.
yes, I love this. This is so. How do you talk to the goddess within? How do you begin that conversation?
It's through intention. Like right now, if you're asking me to demonstrate, I will with you.
We could, if you'd like. I just whatever you if you feel like you want to do.
Now, for people that are watching, it's what I teach people to do. There's a state that I go into inside of myself where I surrender to the goddess within me, and then I can look through, and what she'll pick up is a vibrational shift. Even though I'm not saying the words, I don't have to say the words, I can demonstrate it, right? And she'll pick it up, and then all I have to do, because it's my intent, all I have to do is look at you and say hello. I see you. Now, the goddess within, a lot of times we don't run around acknowledging that part of ourselves or acknowledging that part in other people. And so it really enjoys
Yeah.
that someone actually recognized and said hello. There's a lot of backstory to this, and it's because when we were children, we were born into this world, we were already this.
Yeah.
Okay, and then they hypnotized us into letting that go and putting a mask on and being somebody else. And this is why we see a world with so much depression in it, because it's unexpressed.
Right.
We're the god, the goddess within that is not expressed. And so we could live a life, and this is the true meaning of asleep, and this is the true meaning of awake, is when you come into that full relationship with yourself. That's awake. Woke, that's a different animal. That's something that's been invented. But this place in you, this goddess within you, this energy actually has dominion over the whole thing, because it's only your reality anyway.
Right.
Now you can set up and do tasks and little things with the goddess within, all kinds of, say you wanted to transform something in your life. Uh, you set it up in a specific way to see it, hear it, and feel it. And you step into that state, and then it starts changing. So we start reversing the whole fact that everything is outside of you coming towards you. It's actually inside of you expanding.
Right.
And even technical things like, they say, oh, there's we have cell phones. Okay, great. But you have that technology within you, and we're finding out more and more now that people can literally think of somebody and say, I desire to see you in the next day or two. And in the next day or two, they show up at the door, because we have all of the technology within us. We
Right.
just have to do something that my old teacher said. He says there's no problem with humanity at all. They just suffer from a lack of imagination. And so what's happening here is the left brain, the right brain. Over in the left brain, it's very confusing. There's lots of different ideas, and I call it this equals that. Everything is set up that when I do this, this will happen. It's all cause and effect. This will equal that. And when you go over to the right, it's like poof. It's just silence.
Peace.
Yeah. And from there, you can have a desire, see it manifest into fruition and be it. And then there isn't any counter. You see, the one part of the mind that they could hypnotize was the left, but they can't hypnotize the right.
It's too powerful.
I worked for a while with the victims of MKA Ultra. And what happens with them is that they get fractured through abuse. So there will be a tremendous amount of abuse, and then they fracture, and then they program the fracture, and then they'll do their bidding for them, right? Well, I started to really study this because I noticed something was going on with humanity, and I found that the same process is used when we go to school. So
Yep.
the same process, we have to have trauma of some sort. Even being ripped from home and going into school is a trauma. Now, from that trauma, you can't be who you are in school, the magical little being that you are, that you came in as, that knows how to heal things and do you. That's verboten,
Right.
and you have to put on a mask and pretend to be somebody else, and this is where the problem starts. Whether it's MK Ultra or whether it's going through a school system or going through regular life, we end up putting this mask on, and the mask isn't you. So, and to get into behind the mask and actually start to work with you, eliciting that magic that's naturally in you, that was born with you, like that feeling is unbelievable. What people feel when they go through my process, because all of a sudden they connect with something they knew was always there, but just didn't bring it out. They always knew that they were magical. They always knew that life had to be more than this. And it is. It's way more than this. Anyway, I'm going on and on.
It's lovely. I would like to answer what my experience was when you did that. Was I found it funny too, because you said right after that backstory, and I felt it a lot in my back, like a hug of energy, but on down my shoulder blades and down. And I found that really fascinating. That's where it touched when you um, when you told me you saw me. You know what I mean?
From my experience in this for years, I know that your goddess is ready. You have been doing it for some time. If you want an interesting experience, because it's really telling me that you're ready for this next step, but it's up to you if you want me to take you through it.
I'm open to whatever.
Okay.
If that's something you want to do, for sure.
Now, the reason why it works so well, and it works well with my practitioners that I teach, is that they have to learn to become it in order for it to work, because you need to see the reflection of that, right? And then you need to build a rapport, and you need to build with both minds. So I'll ask you, is it all right consciously if the goddess within you just kind of shows you something interesting? Okay.
The answer immediately was yes.
No, I need to ask the goddess, is it okay with you that we do this today live?
Yes.
So be it.
full body chills, by the way.
This is part of it. This is actually the one thing you'll notice about me is that I work with actual feelings, like actual things are going to happen, right? Like you're going to feel things.
Okay.
And the one thing that's happening right now is that your wings are trying to come out. I know that. I know that feeling. So if you would, with me, take a deep breath in, hold it to the mental count of 3, and slowly exhale. And just allow yourself to drop from the top part of your mind down into your body, maybe even to your heart. And as we take another deep breath in and slowly exhale, we're moving from the top part of our mind into our body, into what we call midbrain as well, into something that's called the field. And one more deep breath in and slowly exhale. And repeat after me if you'd like to. Oh, my beloved goddess,
Oh, my beloved goddess,
that I am, that I am, that I am.
that I am, that I am, that I am.
Come forth from where I put you.
Come forth from where I put you.
Please forgive me.
Please forgive me.
Now breathe in the energy
Mm.
and let those wings come out.
Mm-hmm.
From this consciousness, you can look at your programmed consciousness below you. From this consciousness, you see 360 degrees. This is you. And the more that you get used to you, the bigger it gets. Ascension is now. Healing is now. It all is now. We don't have to wait for anything. We become it inside in vibration, and it becomes our external world. How does this feel?
This is fun.
Oh, my beloved goddess,
Oh, my beloved goddess,
I am, I am, I am.
I am, I am, I am.
I am the light that shines through me.
I am the light that shines through me.
I have never been born, nor will I ever die.
I have never been born, nor will I have ever died.
I am eternal.
I am eternal.
So be it.
So be it.
So we can enter this consciousness, and it's the original consciousness that we had before we came here. And as you can tell, it's very, very powerful.
Yeah.
In a feeling way. What are you feeling?
It made me cry a little bit, but it was happy tears. It was released tears. It was the sigh kind of tears.
Many people that come to see me have tears because of they always knew this was real, but they cry because they wasted so much time avoiding it. That's what a lot of people tell me. Yeah.
I can see that.
So it's been my hope and my dream ever since I was a little kid, because Yeah, okay, I've been in full-time practice for 25 years, but I came in I came in wanting to figure out a way to bring that relationship back to people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of trauma to be healed that people ignore and deny, so it doesn't get the chance to be seen, so it can go.
Yes. And sometimes what I have found is that when we go back and we hit the reset button, like what happened with the with those folks from that suffered from MKA ultra programming, is when we go back and we hit that original child, that original consciousness, all the suffering seems to just dissipate.
Yeah.
So they would come back to their original consciousness, and these fractures would dissolve, right?
Right.
Because we're living a fracture, right? Most people on earth are living a fracture. They're not living their true self.
Yeah.
Because your true self is powerful.
Yeah.
And it's not a power where you beat something up. It's a power where you stay stable. Although I walk through the valley of death, thy rod and thy staff will comfort me. And what that is a direct beam from source energy into you, and then your kundalini wrapping around your chakras.
Mm-hmm.
Thy rod is the rod, and the staff is that crooked staff. And so as long as you have that in harmony, it doesn't matter what portrays itself out in your outside world, because it's your harmony that will transform the valley of death into the Garden of Eden, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Your own. But this is a problem a lot of people have, is they're trying to take the whole group with them, and you can't. You can only save yourself. Other people will see that and want that. That's fine. And you can help them with that.
Mm-hmm.
But what we're basically popping into is our own earth,
Right.
our very own. Now, we might be out there floating around on our own earth and then bump into other earths and share experiences. But we are moving out of this density.
Yes. And in many ways, this density that we're in, like you had said earlier, isn't even real anyway. It's manufactured by the mind.
Bashar says it very well. He says, heaven, you've never left it.
Yeah.
So what I found a lot with the work is that there is this idea of putting things out in front of us and wanting them and desiring them and keeping them out there. Instead, we need to come inside and own it. I am this. A lot of people say, well, I don't like I am statements because it sounds like a lie. Well, it is at first. Yeah,
Yeah.
because you're shifting vibration. But then stick with it, because you're going to start producing visual images to go along with that I am statement, words that you're going to be saying to yourself internally, and then you're going to shift your feelings.
Yeah.
Right? And then once you shift the feelings, there you go.
Right.
We just have to get really good at shifting feelings, right?
Sorry, I cut you off. What was that?
I says we just have to get really good at
Yeah.
producing good feelings.
Yeah. And with practice, it becomes really easy.
It does.
And
when you
like
realize
said,
it's not so foreign.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. I worked on it for years because I noticed that we have visualization,
Mm-hmm.
and people visualize their desires. We have auditory, which we're talk to ourselves about it, right? And then we have feelings, and the feelings is what manifests, right? You play with the pictures and the words, but it's going to be the feeling of shifting from your state right now into another state that is going to do it. And that's as easy as pre-programming it or using post-hypnotic suggestions. As I walk through this doorway, that's a threshold into a new world. And you walk through and you do an action and you hallucinate the feeling at first, and then holy man, it starts happening. And we don't even have to do that much work. We Once you get used to it, you can just think about the feeling you're having right now and thinking, okay, now thank you for that. Let's just transform that into something else.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how I teach people to manifest. First you want to make sure you're doing it with your heart rather than need, like that. Just I have to have it. That's usually lower, and so we it comes in sideways for me anyway when I manifest from that space. But that's where the emotion is in this place, is this heart-centered space, and so people will sometimes do the journaling and acting as if they're reporting something that they had just received, so they can elicit that emotion and bring it forward.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's where it is at. And that happens within you, and then it changes the outside. You morph for reality on the outside of it.
Yeah.
Because it is an inner game. There used to be an island, a landmass. It was called the land of Mu.
Mm-hmm.
And the Mu people believed that everything happened inside of you, and you felt it, and then it manifests outside of you, right? The Atlanteans were different, right? The Atlanteans were working with the outside, trying to change it the other way around, right?
Yeah.
But Mu sunk.
That's actually the incarnation memory I have, is Mu. I was part of Mu. Yeah. Yes.
So thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking this on.
I didn't want to. I remember them trying to get me to come, and I didn't want to at first. Yeah.
Well, you're here.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone forced you.
No, it was a choice, of course. I don't think you can come without making the choice.
This is the only plane of existence that you can become God. All the rest, you already are it. So this is the plane where you get to experience moving through transitions and whatever, so that you step back into your true nature, which is God.
Yeah.
And a lot of people want to disassociate from that and say, well, I'm part of God. I'm a little smidgen of God. You got to own it.
Mm-hmm.
You got to own it. Like, in old writings, they talk about the fact that the only way to know God is to become it. The only way to know anything is to become it.
Right.
And so some people, they feel kind of polarized about that. But the thing with this is that once you start doing it, then the gifts start unraveling.
Right.
When you start owning who you are, start owning that this plot around you is yours and yours alone.
Yeah.
Then you stop listening to all the stuff that's going on out there, and you start having a real interesting party with your own goddess within.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all it is about manifesting yourself into higher vibrations, coming through whatever you presented yourself with, coming through it and evolving from it.
Right.
Trance Alchemy, right?
Yeah. Definitely. And then you find that, like you said, as you allow yourself to see yourself, then the world outside of you begins to reflect that as well. For example, all of us have come through trauma, and I had my own trauma that I wouldn't look at, and until I was able to let myself see that, what was not seen was the little girl inside that didn't feel safe.
That's right.
And that was it. And as soon as I allowed myself to comfort her as the all-powerful being that I am, then I was able to emerge into who I truly am.
That's right. And a lot of people don't know that they're, those frozen states, those where you meet up with the boss and you're like, you can't even say anything. These are actually traumas.
Right.
And if you follow them back and you just go, how young do I feel right now? You'll see a younger version of you experiencing that in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And you do what you're doing, what you just said. You
Right.
go and as the adult you and pick that little child up. But my suggestion is get them the hell off the timeline. Don't keep them on the timeline like so many do, and then visit them there in that stuck
Right.
spot. Take them off the timeline, and then talk to them. I've I've done work with people where I get the little, well, there's a wounded inner child, and then there's the one that I call the magical inner child, which is before the traumas. When we're working with the magical inner child, you can sit and ask for a healing from the child. And a child loves to play in the magic. And so the child will give you a healing. The child will do all kinds of magical things. It's just not disconnected. Anyway, no.
It's true. It's true. And that was the original beginning of my healing. Was I was a trafficked child and just really deeply abused background. So, a lot of crazy, weird conditioning and dark magic kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
the pleading started coming in, and
Hmm.
I was guided to go back to moments and to take myself to in a different way.
Yeah.
I empowered myself. I changed time in my own experience by saying and doing the things that I would have liked to have done. And I thought I was changing my history, though what I was truly doing is I was bringing my essence back and out into a safe place.
Yeah, that is the thing. Are you changing history? Yeah, you are. Because we
Right?
see that's the thing. We own the technology. We can time travel.
Yeah.
In 2 seconds, we can time travel, you and I together. All we have to do is think about the smell of fresh baked bread. And where are you?
Yeah, grandma.
Yeah, you see? Boom, grandma's house, right? So we don't give what we've got credit. And there's a reason for that because they don't want us to, right? They don't want you to see who you really are. So the fact that you can travel back in time like that fast, and people say, well, it's not real, or it's not. I've seen people go through all kinds of frustrations and still not get it. Frustration doesn't get you there. A quick boom back in time like that, just a suggestion, takes people back into that place and the good feelings that are around there. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Oh yeah.
Now you wanted to time travel, maybe to ancient Egypt. And what do you see?
It's pyramids. Sand.
Yeah,
Actually, I see a lot of grass when I go to Egypt. People say only sand, but that's how it is now. I see
yeah,
it very lush and green too.
yeah.
Funny.
And how did they lift those blocks into place?
They moved them without motion of hand or eye, actually. They asked it. People think that you should command a thing when what we did was we asked. And
Yeah,
if it wanted to, which usually it did, it would do it.
yeah,
Sometimes it didn't want to.
Yep.
I guess, I don't remember those moments, but that's also
So we could go back in time that quickly with eyes open. Did you feel like you were in a trance?
a little bit, yeah.
But it is only the trance that I'm displaying to you. You're matching it. You're going into it, and I just go along with it. Like
Yeah.
when we get sorry, but when we get set up with too many scripts about what we're supposed to say next, and we lose the plot.
Right.
We lose the whole plot about hypnotherapy and what it's about, what Trance Alchemy is all about. It's about sitting in the space with the person and being the clearest person in the room that you can be and ask questions and watch the evolution of that person right in front of your eyes. And you're not really saying anything to
Right.
get them. It just happens.
The
Because
Arcturians call it uncasting a spell. It's
yeah,
interesting, isn't it? They call it uncasting rather than breaking.
that's right. And this is what goes on for us as we're uncasting spells.
Yeah.
The fact that your true nature, you're already powerful, you're already all of it you want to be, but it's only these spells that keep you thinking that it isn't.
Yeah.
So I came up with working with the internal critic, because the internal critic is the most damaging part of us. It continuously
Yeah.
criticizes us. I don't think it is even us. I think it's a program that we picked up
I agree.
of self-judgment so that we keep the mask on.
Yeah.
Right?
And the cage up, because we're the wardens and the prison. We are.
That's right.
Yeah.
And for most people, they're frustrated. They don't know how to get it to work, and they don't know how to. The truth is to love who you are and know that you are it. There's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to be. Simply sit at your kitchen table and love who you are.
Yeah.
And the universe will surrender itself at your feet, for it has no choice. And that's the truth of the matter. When we get to that point where we're no longer living duality within ourselves,
Right.
right? There's a conscious mind, there's an unconscious mind. I mean, we've got so many fractures going on. What if it was one mind?
Right.
What if it was just one mind? I did a interview one time with John Anthony West, and we were talking about ancient Egypt and talking about those libraries are still there.
Yeah.
People go into them. And we talked about the fact of them translating these. And he got frustrated at that, really frustrated at that. He was the guy that did the Magical Egypt series.
Oh.
Anyway, so he got upset. He called it academia. He says academia is always trying to. He says if you really want the experience, go into midbrain, what I just shared with you how to do. Walk in and have your own experience with the hieroglyphs, because they'll speak to you. And that's the true translation, because it'll only teach you what you're ready for.
Yeah.
And you're the governor.
They change. It's really, they do. And then you could read it and then find that the next time you read it, even though it seems to be the same, it's telling you a whole different thing.
That's
It's
right.
telling you what you're meant to hear then, in that moment, it would appear.
You see, there's a relationship with ourselves that we missed out on this whole life, basically. This separation between the two minds, this has been going on for a long time. Back in the time of Chronos,
Yep.
Father Time, he put time into place so that we don't stay in the present moment.
Right.
Because there's a past, there's a future, and not. So there was something, and then he had a son and his son was Zeus, and Zeus was called the Great Divider. And it's written that Zeus put human beings into a trance because he was jealous. He put them into hypnosis and split them in two so that they would always have this duality and they could never agree to go to the God level. So when I was in Greece, I stood on the beach and they said, that star over there, that's Zeus. And I says, good. I says, why don't you come down here and we'll have a little chat about what you did to humanity and about undoing it now, right? And what if, for whatever reason, I mean, weird things happen in my life, but for whatever reason, the star disappeared and there was this blue or a purple kind of a haze around us. Don't know what to say about it, except the fact that it happened.
Right.
Yeah.
I've been very aware of these things too. The stars are the gods that we are told about. Zeus is Jupiter, and actually, I'm going to take just a moment to remember I made that. I told you about that right before we started. There's an occultation of Jupiter, right? Is it Jupiter? Yeah, it's Jupiter. I'm pretty sure. It's Neptune. I was wrong. Anyway, but that's going to happen. That's going to start in 17 minutes for those of you who are in the, it's in Africa, Asia, Russia, and Europe, Western Russia and Europe. If you are in those areas of the planet right now, you'll get to see the lunar occultation of Neptune. So I thought that was a good segue, but it's Jupiter. And if you can look at the different conjunctions that are occurring in the heavens above us, there's a story playing out that's already been written about. It's already been written. And it's told that it's history, but it's happening now. And so that's really fun to see. And you can find a lot of these different texts. And also Kronos is Saturn, known as the dark sun.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you watch these conjunctions occur too, I just find that really fun. So I just wanted to add that for those watching. It's kind of fun.
It is fun.
Mm-hmm.
It is fun when you start opening up the cage and stepping out of the box and realizing that all the magic and miracles and everything else is commonplace out there.
Yeah.
It's only in the box that it was a strange thing.
Right.
And hard to attain within the box. But if we allow ourselves to just pop out of the box and use our own personal definitions, right? Because one person can have a meaning for something and another person can have a different meaning for the same thing. But whatever gets your vibration higher, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Run to the play.
Yeah.
And the uncasting of spells, that allows us to do that. This spelling is the words, like you said, because spelling is spelling. That's what we call it, spelling. That's why we call it that. And the words that we speak to ourselves, whether in our mind or in our heart or out loud, we're speaking those spells to ourselves and deciding to declare limitation, pain, all kinds of different things. The low self-worth talk, out of all the different things that I discuss with people in my sessions, that's typically the hang up, that the area that needs the most recovery is low self-worth talk.
It's that critic that I talked about. A lot of people say, oh, you need to negotiate with it. I need to help people set it on its way, give it its own life, give it its own timeline, and let it attract to like kind.
Yeah.
This discordant that's going on inside of us it's not natural.
No.
Yeah.
No. And it's simple. Yes, there's been conditioning from so many different directions in this lifetime for most people that it does feel like it's impossible, will probably be the word some people will use, because it's just so many different things. Though just one thing at a time. Like you were saying earlier, you said the I am statements. Some people
Yeah.
say, well, that's like I'm lying to myself. Yeah, you know what? When I was, it was Archangel Michael who told me to do this, and that's the only reason I did it. Yeah, I didn't want to. I was supposed to tell myself that I was awesome several times every night before I went to sleep. And you know how cringe that was? You know how difficult that was? I was embarrassed. My kid was asleep with the door closed, and I was in my room with a blanket over my head, and still, I was embarrassed. Yeah, I did it. I did it until I didn't feel cringe anymore. And it became true.
That's right.
And there's nothing egocentric or vain about declaring your own worth. When we've been
That's right.
taught that, that's so inaccurate.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that is, I want to say to you and everybody that that is the crucial part.
Mhm.
We don't realize how much our internal auditory is affecting our state of being.
Right.
So when we start saying I am statements, you're changing that and feeling something different.
Yeah.
Like I could use language in one way that's defeating, and I can use language in another way that's going to accelerate you.
Right.
And we're mainly talking in language that's defeating
Yeah.
to everybody. If I was to say to you, uh, I'd like you to try to see your future self, and I don't know if you can, but can you kind of
Yeah.
make her out? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that went in a certain way. Now let me show you a different language. Naturally, as you see your future self out there, maybe even glowing, you begin to wonder to yourself if you can start to glow as well.
Mhm.
Did
Yeah.
one go in better than the other?
Yes. The first one, I had to effort my because I do have a beautiful understanding of who that person is. I
Yes.
at first felt like I had to correct it back to who that is, because
Yeah.
it did come in sideways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to language in this spelling. See,
Mhm.
when you talk to somebody, you're painting a picture in their mind. Make
Right.
it a good one, is what my teacher used to say. Make it a good picture. Make it a delightful picture,
Yeah.
you know? Even to the fact that when um, we say things like, there's lots of people that have taken this and, you know, and some of them even succeed at it, right? I mean, that's low, right?
Yeah.
There's lots of people that take this course, and when they do, they're in absolute delight, right? We could take people to different places
Yeah.
by our words. You know, it's such a beautiful thing to be able to work with people.
Yeah. And this is a good moment to bring this up. You do meet with people, and there is his website, just for anyone who is wondering, is linked in the description of this video. So this, at least the scheduling site that you had provided to me, is
Okay,
available there. So if
my
there's
web
more,
my website is just DwaineHartman.com.
okay,
Yeah, like it's spelled on the screen here. Dwayne's spelled a little different.
okay, without any spaces between it, and removing the doctor probably.
Yeah, yeah. Just Dwayne Hartman, no spaces, and .com.
Awesome. That's cool. You were able to find a website with your name like that.
Well, I just made it that way, right? I went into GoDaddy and got a name and got DwayneHartman.com.
That's awesome.
Nobody had it because hardly
That's
anybody
amazing.
spells Dwayne that way.
That's a good. I did notice that your spelling, and that's when I find a unique spelling of a person's name. typically that person is stronger in their inner knowing of themselves. I find that really fascinating. And I don't know what that is. I do
Yeah.
like when I went by Pammy, I did it with one M and a Y. And those types of things. And I didn't do it like it's one of those things you find that it seems that we associate ourselves too much with the names when the names don't actually resonate because that's not who you've ever been. When
Yeah.
you talk to spirit, they don't use names. They use names only if you want to understand something. You
Yeah.
know,
It's hey you.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. It.
right.
I heard somebody say that a while back. They were talking about names, and they said, "What's your name?" And the guy says his name, Bill Rogers or whatever, and he goes, "That's hearsay." He goes, "What do you mean? It's been my name?" He says, "How did you get that name?" And he says, "Well, my parents gave it to me." And he says, "That's hearsay.
Right.
You're not. You're an energy. You're a vibration."
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah,
It sounds like something when we talk to souls, when we talk to others. By the way, you can also use that sense of smell thing you brought up earlier about bread. You said what does the
yeah,
fresh baked bread. Um, One of the things that my first near death experience is when I was 4, and I've had a couple since, but since that moment, I was able to communicate with those who have passed. And one of the things that they'll come in to tell you they're coming is they usually have an aroma, like those who have passed, and you associate that aroma with them. It's their way of saying it's me, it's me. Hey, don't worry, it's okay. I'm coming in. I don't want to freak you out, And like my little brother, he smells like bubblegum and melted plastic because he played Nintendo so much. That melted plastic smell that Nintendo makes or made, that smells like my brother
yeah.
and things like this. And so if you want to call someone, you can also use aroma.
My dad was like that. He would always pick up the presence of somebody
Yeah.
by their smell. Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone smells unique.
Yeah.
And in spirit, we also have a different resonance. Like what it feels like just before you say a person's name, that's their name. What they feel like right there.
Yeah.
Right. I have a
Just
couple
like,
more questions. Oh, sorry.
okay, go ahead.
What got you into this? Like what started what initiated um like I'm sure there was some type of inner knowing that already was occurring. However, what was it that started this is something that I meant to do?
Well, there's nothing like the truth, I guess. I came in here, and I have full memory of coming in here. I have full memory of holding 2 orbs in my hands and holding them to my chest, and actually I loved myself into being here. It was a transition that took place when I held those orbs. I kind of enfolded into that and became here. I actually there's a painting uh, someone did for me because they got a clear vision of me coming in, right?
Yeah.
And so they painted this picture of me. But how did I get into it? I was always into it.
Yeah.
There was uh, I was always looking for the miracles and the magic, and all through my life. There was a time when I went to school that it all got really disrupted, right? And through that school period, right, I went down in vibration.
Yeah.
And then I got out of school, and then uh, started on my own. And then, well, I was a bit of a party animal. I loved to party, all of it, as much as you could get in you. And, but this one time on a trip, probably in it was about 1988, I think 1989, and I was on this trip to go up to a work site because they were building a pulp mill, and I was an insulator, and so I was on the road with my friend, and all of a sudden there was this kind of a cloud in front of us, looked like a cloud, but there was a light that came out from behind it and went around and came behind it again. We said, "Did you see that?" Yes. And then another one came out and made a wider berth. And then the third one came out, and when it did, it went behind the car. And when it went behind the car, we weren't in Kansas anymore.
And that was the moment.
Car and all.
Wow.
I was on this, I could say ship or dimension or place or whatever you want to call it. But the beings were very, very loving beings. They glowed a golden color to where you could hardly make out their facial features, but there was a smile, there was a happiness to them. And anyway, they shared with me that there was a time coming that humanity was going to be in an opportunity to evolve quickly because the pressure was going to come on quite strong, and
Right.
you need to be in your right mind here to help out. This is what you came for. And so I was like, oh, okay. So long story short, got popped back into the car, carried on, and then later, you know, something like this happens in your life, and it's there, and boom, it happens. And then what do? I mean, I didn't know how to evolve anything. I didn't know how to do anything like this.
Right.
I didn't know how to. And so I ended up back at a bush party, you know.
Mhm.
And usually I would have been in the center of the bush party, but instead I was on the outside edge. And I seen a flick in the side vision, and I looked over, and here comes a native man coming out of the bush in full leathers, leather pants, moccasins, braids, all of that, walks up to me and says, "What are you doing here?" And I says, "Oh, we're having a bush party." And he goes, "No, what are you doing here?" And I went, "Oh shit." And I dropped my beer, and I looked over at him, and he was disappearing into the bush, but I knew who that was. I know it was them coming back and, you know, kind of reminding me.
Right.
So how did I get into it? There's various ways, but I was really born into it.
Right.
Right. I mean, I was always communicating with source energy and testing the boundaries of this place.
Were you able
Yeah.
to see their eyes? The ETs. Did they let you see their eyes?
I seen their eyes, but that wasn't the most interesting thing. You could look in their eyes, and then they would tilt their head, and they would send a beam of love to your heart.
Yeah.
And that's where the communication was.
Yeah.
It wasn't in their words they spoke, because they didn't.
Yeah.
But they transferred this heart-based communication to you, which I found really strange, because when I was a little boy, I had my school picture taken. It's in my Facebook. But I had my school picture taken, and for some reason, when he went to take the picture, I tilted my head. It sent a message. Now, he got, those days, I mean, we were dealing with a different type of society. He got really mad. I mean, yelled at me and everything for doing that, and
Wow.
told me to sit straight and not move.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm sitting there, and just before he took the picture, I knew I tilted my head and did that again. So he finally said, "Get out of here. I'm done." Okay. So anyway, I got that picture, and I realized then that this was an ongoing kind of visitation that was happening, right? This reminded me, this trip to the work camp reminded me of it, but it was like, and then things really started to unfold from that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I've had a variety of ET experiences, and they've never let me see inside their eyes.
Oh,
There's always this, like, yeah, I get what you're talking about. The sending, that's beautiful too. It's powerful. It's just,
yeah.
and I asked, and they said, you don't want to see too much; it'll ruin your story. And but I know a lot of us do, where we can see someone's future through their eyes. When you look into their eyes, you can see their future, just some of it. And often, if you're in their future, then you see what's going to happen for you, that'll ruin your story. And I think that's why I was curious if they let you, did you see anything like that? I don't know.
Yeah, I did. I did see their eyes. They did something different with me. Might be the same sort of idea, um, but they had this pyramid sitting on a desk or a surface, and the pyramid was turning. Every time a flat face would come to me,
Yeah.
there would be a symbol come off that pyramid face and into my eye, third eye, and into the back of my head. Now, every time that it turned to another face, another symbol, and it never repeated symbols, and it kept going.
Mm,
And it was many, many years later. In fact, it wasn't, I'm closer to that time now than I was when it happened, but because it wasn't that long ago,
right.
that all of a sudden I seen an image. I seen an image of the brain when it's firing,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Uh-huh.
the universe with a different filter, and see all the how it's all tied in together.
Yeah.
And when I seen that image, all of a sudden it went click, and I could hear them or feel them as plain as day. They
Yeah.
said those symbols are star charts, and those symbols symbolize the consciousness of the beings that live there. Now they're all coming to planet Earth to be birthed,
Mhm.
to do a shift and a change to planet Earth. And by these symbols, you'll be able to recognize who you're working with.
Yeah.
You'll be able to connect with them better. So that's why they put these symbols in there, because they go along with a feeling as well, always. But there's a feeling, and it's like I can meet with anybody no matter where they are in their life path or whatever, and I can sink in with them and help them grow from that point, right?
Right.
But basically, I'm, for these people that have come in to do this work, right, to help the planet, I'm kind of like the welcoming crew, the welcoming guy that says,
Yeah.
"Hey, I see you," you know.
That's awesome.
Uh,
I also resonate a lot with what you just said. My most recent experience regarding this, three ETs had come to my room, and there are always three. I find it's really fascinating. I don't know why that is, but and they didn't have a pinky, so they had hands like this, and the one that was standing in front of the two um, put I think it felt like a masculine energy, his hand up, and an electricity something came from his palm and went, and like it made contact with the corners of my eye and the top of my eyebrow like a pyramid. And
mhm.
then I was able to follow electricity through my brain. And after that activation, now I can follow my electricity in the energy light sources through my body and repair and assist. And but when that was done, that actually lulled me to sleep when this, and it wasn't, it was a beautiful energy. It was just to
Yeah, yeah,
calm me down. It was like, hey, chill out. We got to go do some realignment on the ship. So let's calm you down so you can come with us, is kind of what it felt like.
right.
It's very similar to what you just described. And yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Now, we have the ability to, if we utilize our imagination, we have the ability to uh, affect our emotional state,
Yeah.
and we can go from dis-ease to comfort in as long as it takes for you to change your feeling.
Right.
And does the healing happen? Yes, because you're no longer in the same timeline or dimension.
Right.
And people change dimensions so quickly, they don't realize it, but they're looking for this big crescendo thing that's already happened. It's already gone by. You're so accustomed to it. Imagine having all the gifts, all the abilities, and all that being plunked in here, but just being disassociated from
Yeah.
yourself. That's all that's happened.
Yeah.
And once you associate yourself back into it and realize, hey, this is like dimensional shifting, who who could ever tell me that when they go to sleep at night that they don't die and wake up in a new reality?
Right. Right.
You can't. How about when you close your eyes? You know, on purpose, you close your eyes to this dimension and then you open your eyes to the new dimension. That's where I talked about on my post about let the grace of God go before you, because you take that moment to close your eyes and see the way that you want things to be, and then open your eyes and experience it. Let
And
your emotion experience it. If we start playing with freedom like this, you'd be surprised how free you are.
right. I agree with you. I feel like that's the bulk of what Hollywood cinema is meant to do, is to make you, to guide you to way too many different dimensions. And so then it's just like, it feels like you're almost having a dimensional seizure.
Just notice what happens to everybody scrolling through the reels on their newsfeed, or the reels or their newsfeed. Now, what's happening is they're capturing your awareness. You're looking at that, and you're going from one mood to another mood to another mood to another mood so quickly as you're scrolling through. I like, I dislike, oh, this is cool, this is not, this is, oh, I'm crying, no, you know what I mean? Like, you're going through all this emotional whatever, and there's a reason for that, because they don't want you to feel good about yourself
Right.
and that you can rise above this. They want to capture your awareness. Your awareness is the most powerful thing you own. Whatever you become aware of becomes more,
Yeah.
always.
Yes.
And so they're getting you to become aware of all kinds of confusion right now.
Right. I agree.
Spend some time, if I have wanted to give people a good suggestion, spend some time in the morning before you turn that newsfeed on, right?
Yeah.
And go outside, listen to the birds, go out, connect with your own imagination, because you'll notice it once you're really connected with your own imagination. You go back to the news feed, all of a sudden you find during the day that's depleting it, sucking it out of you.
Yep.
Back to your own.
Yep. 100%. I agree. That's exactly what I do every day. I wake up and I go outside. Usually I take a drink with me. I go out there because you have to rehydrate, man. You wake up and you just depleted you need water. You need a lot of it. And I'll sit there. And it takes a while for people to get used to that part about me, because they think that now I'm like, it's like my office hours or something. Like now I'm not available. No, I'm not. I'm not coming out here to talk to anybody. I'm
Yeah.
coming out here to, and also too, typically we have had so many different activating messages that have come through your dream time that need to move to kind of anchor it or understand it or to process it in some way. And
I share with people because they like they like videos, eh?
Hmm.
I used to do videos all the time at one point. I did them all the time. I did continuous shows and everything else. Till I realized that I'm not doing them any favors, right? I'm becoming the new disassociative thing that they look at so that they don't go inside themselves. So then, and this pressure that I had to create new content, new content, new content, new content, I wasn't even in my space anymore,
Right.
right? So I had to come back and come into my own space. What I suggest to people now is that when you hear a video or something that resonates with you, there will be a point in the video where you're boom, you go right into your imagination and you're seeing it because it all lined up for you. Shut the video off at that
Yes.
point because it's activated you, and now stay with that until it's run its course. Then
Yeah.
go back to the video and watch. Now what happens is people are getting these pops, and then they're going to the next subject that's on the video, and the next, and they're not really spending time with their own personal goddess within, God within. Because it was the God within that made you pop like that. You're supposed to go into your imagination and dream a new dream,
Yeah.
to experience, not to continue listening all day long.
Right.
To, if it pops with you, stop and go with that, because that's the relationship you're supposed to have, not externally, but internally with yourself and your own alchemist within.
Right.
No, anyway.
I'm known for this. This is a thing. People talk about it all the time because people want me to watch. Here's a video. Look at this video. Look at this one. And I'll sometimes I will click what people send to me. And I, if I really am determined to watch the length of this thing, I'll go back and I'll take bites here and there. It could take days for me to finish something because of that. And I'll just click mute is my problem though. And so I always have to go find where I left off because mute's the easier button, just right there on my keyboard, but and because it takes you, it triggers a memory, a remembering of something. And that's something else that's really interesting about, you talked about the way we use our brain, is that I'm 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 coming to this understanding that what we're actually doing is we're not learning something new, we're recalling. And when you understand that you're recalling rather than learning, it's easy. It makes it more, I don't know how to use what word to use here. It's just, it works out easier to understand where it's coming from and what is being activated in your brain spheres,
Yeah.
so it's really fascinating.
I would like I'd like for you to do me a favor.
Yeah.
Could you remember how to levitate and describe it to us?
Right now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's important to um, release all the things that are from the outside. So, like, first of all, there's no gravity.
Right.
There isn't. I know it sounds crazy, but it's true. Um, and then all of these other things have to do with limitation and choice, and so, and agreeing upon someone else's manifestation, like mass media does, for instance, that they're just saying, hey guys, we want you to manifest this. And then being in this place where you're removing all of these anchors, it just works. I don't know how. Then you just go. It's like, it looks like this energetically from the outside. It looks like this as it
Yeah.
moves up through you, and you just
Now,
go.
the thing of it is, anybody watching this can copy your pattern that you just did, bringing in it and going like that. And what would that feel like? And if they just held that feeling, they'd start levitating.
Yeah.
Let go, go in, and that happened to me when I was younger. I was very, very fascinated with levitation and lifting off the ground, and there was this friend of mine who was working in a daycare, but above she kept hearing this boom, boom. These new tenants moved in up,
Mm.
boom, boom, boom. So she walks up and she said, do you mind keeping it down? The children are trying to sleep. And they were very apologetic. Sorry, sorry, sorry. She goes, what are you doing here anyway? She goes, oh, we're teaching levitation. And when they break concentration, boom, they come down. So she's on the horn with me saying, you got to go down there right now because these guys are doing this. Of course, they wouldn't see me right now. They had a class, but they told me when to come back, and I came back and had an opportunity to talk to this lady. Funny thing about this lady that was teaching this levitation, she glowed. When I seen her, there was that golden glow, and I'm like, oh, okay, good. So after it was, the presentation was all done, she says, if you have any questions, please feel free to approach me. I says, okay. So I went up and I says, this is kind of probably private, so could we? She goes, yeah, I'll just take you into my office. And I said, now I'm very, very interested in levitation, and you're teaching levitation here, right? And she goes, yes, we are. And I says, you can levitate? And she said, yeah, I can levitate. I says, well, how high do you levitate? What do you, because I've also heard of these jumping up and down, and they call that levitation. And she goes, no, I lift up about 4 feet off the ground. I move over and I sit down over here. And I says, what does that feel like? Well, I'll never tell an empath that, right? Because I picked up the feeling and I went home and did it, right?
Yeah.
But she said to me, it takes years and years of practice and years of meditation to even get to that point. Or you could copy the feeling and just do it.
Right. Right. Because we already have it. It's a memory. We're remembering.
It's so many, everything, anything somebody talks about, if you think about the fact that I have that in me, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because if it's in everybody, it's in me. How would I get it to work? And you just have to play with your imagination on getting it to work.
Right.
Some people say they see an image of themselves in their solar plexus inside a pyramid, and they go underneath and they lift that pyramid up to the next chakra and they levitate. There's people that levitate in different ways.
Yeah.
But levitation is happening.
Right. To answer the question, just because I want to say answer what it feels like is, to me, it feels like that moment in the elevator in between, just before you land.
That's right.
And then often you don't even know how high up you are, because I'm not usually with my eyes open. Usually my eyes are closed because I'm not doing it on purpose. I don't know if I've ever done it on purpose. I'm one of those people that's like, I'm not into parlor tricks. I'm into the moment, and so it feels like a parlor trick, when I'm doing it to like fly or something. But, and then when I do it, there's been times where I'm coming back out of meditation and I feel my weight. I feel the sensation of the ground meeting my body. And I'm like, oh yeah, I must have been, I didn't even realize often, that's what we're doing. And so if you can remember what it feels like, that moment in the elevator, that's the easiest way to get there right away, is that it's like right here. It's like right in between your solar plexus and your heart chakra. It's like right there.
What I used to sit in the back of the school bus, and when it would go over a real quick hill, you'd get that lofty feeling. Now that's what I did, is I just took and reproduced a lofty feeling and lifted up. And you say, well, how do you lift up a feeling? You imagine you can, and you can. And you just imagine you can lift it up to the next spot, or you just lift it up. And that's what it did for me. It was, next thing you know, I was up in the air. I didn't know I was up in the air. I had my eyes closed. But the person that was with me, and the fact that I had chimes above my meditation chair.
Yeah.
I did go up and that touched and it went tinkle, tinkle. It took me a while to actually wrap my head around what happened.
Right.
And I had levitated. But so many of these things we can do. If you circulate love, you bring love into your heart, you feel the love, you expand the love, and you think about how much you love source energy, right?
Yeah.
And you send that love up to source energy. Source energy takes a hold of it and goes, wow, somebody actually loved me back. And expands it bigger and sends it back to you. And you feel that love in your heart and you go, wow, expanded love. So you expand it again, you add more love to it, and you keep this game going for a little bit. What happened to me when I kept this game going for a little bit was all of a sudden my wall turned into bubbles and separated out, and I had somewhat of a tunnel like what you've got behind you out in front of me. And I went, wow. So I walked out into this tunnel and went as far as I met somebody, and they said, wow, that's cool. You did that.
That's awesome.
Are you ready? And I says, you bet, I'm ready. And he says, are you sure? Oh, shit. The way I went back. And the wall closed up in front of me. But this happened with my eyes wide open, not on any hallucinating drugs,
right.
Nothing, just circulating love and expanding love. Now, what you talked about was all of my stuff let go, because as I was more and more love, bigger and bigger love, I unhooked from all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And just ascended.
Yeah.
And then came back. And we all can ascend and come back.
Yeah.
You know, the biggest fear with people hearing about ascension is that it's some sort of done deal where you ascend and that's it. Oh no, you can come back.
Yeah.
But you've taught yourself how to ascend if you ever need it.
Right. And we have a purpose being here. At least I do. I still, I don't know why it's important to be in this lack of memory part of this, what we're doing. But there is always, for me, in my experience, where I'm meant to not exactly know. And I don't want to, I think is why. Because I want to have the human experience. And part of that human experience is making mistakes. Part of that human experience is, like you had a party background, me too, like a lot of us have done things that, we later went, oh, wow, that was really unhealthy for my body. And sometimes still, like I had pizza last week, and I've been keeping a real strict intake of food lately, especially with all this energy that's coming through my body. Gets mad at me if I do otherwise, but I still do it, and so we still have our need to be in this human experience,
to a point. Like we give whatever we eat meaning, and so then it becomes it. Remember, we're still gods. So my old friend used to pray over his meal. We hear a lot of people pray over their meals, but he would actually take a look at it and he would say, now transform all of this into something that heals me, whatever, before he would consume it. And so he spoke to his food before he consumed it. And then he had great results. Everyone has their own unique things about making a transformation or making an ascension. But we give it meaning. And there was an old guru, not an old guru, but a guru that said he wanted to prove something. And so he smoked Cuban cigars and drank Coke for a year. They tested him before and then they tested him after, and there was no effect.
Really?
Because he said that it's what meaning you put onto it that gives it. So he blessed the cigar and he blessed the...
Right.
But he wanted to do it as a demonstration of the power of us, right now.
Yeah.
There was a study done in the university one time, in a university where they got permission to go on to death row and work with this guy. And they said that they were going to adopt a new way of doing the anesthesia or the killing them off.
Mm.
And he says it'll be painless and you'll just fade away. And would you do it? He goes, yeah, I'll do it. It's for an experiment. Okay, I'll do it. So they tied his hands behind his back and they situated a hose so it would warm water, just body temperature water, would drip down the knots and down his fingers. And then they turned this on. Well, they slit his wrists and turned this on, but they didn't really slit his wrists. They just pretended to. He thought they slit his wrists. He could hear the dripping in the pail. And in like 3 hours, he was dead.
Right.
And there wasn't anything wrong with him.
Right.
So it proved the fact that your own mind can kill you, or you can.
Yeah.
Your beliefs, right?
Yeah.
So the only thing that we can really do is do things that make us feel good. You know, sometimes somebody's meditation music is this certain meditation music, and they get accustomed to that, and everybody else is doing it, so I'm doing it. But yet, they go home and they hear this good rock song, and they're jumping up and down, energized. And which one do you think you should choose? One that really resonates with you? I don't care if it's Rammstein or not.
Right.
If it works for you, it's the tones and something in it that's causing you to power up. Yeah.
And the same is true for all medical system stuff. I find like it's another casting of spells. The doctor's saying you have an illness, you have a disease, you have this long to live. You know, I was diagnosed with a fatal illness back in 2007. I was supposed to supposedly be gone in a few months, and I'm not. In fact, you know, the point of this is that we can either choose to agree to these spell castings, or we can choose to see the truth. And it's like you said, we are gods and goddesses embodied, and we make our choices of what our experience and our reality is. We declare in fact, I would say that these doctors that come into our sphere often are also manifested by us.
Yeah.
To provide the option of choice.
Exactly. The amount of difficulty that you experience in your life is only to the degree of how powerful you are. When you come out from behind that what I call, you know, we're really disassociated and disassociating from ourselves because we can't admit we're God.
Yeah.
And that's got its own punishment. Not that anyone's punishing you. It's just that you'll suffer until you can admit, right, that you are. And when you admit you are, and you start moving down that avenue and realizing that everything that you desire is already here. It's already here. All you have to do is step into it vibrationally. Then, see, we spent way too many years in therapy. And nobody spent enough time in what the solution would feel like.
Right.
So you're not going to go to the solution unless you create it. So a lot of people out there that want to heal from this or change that, the only reason that they're still there is because they haven't moved their consciousness to the other side of the brain.
Right.
And actually sat there in the feeling of already achieved. Now that's how you heal anyway. A lot of times people don't realize they take an aspirin for a headache. They take the aspirin in the water, but in their mind they had a quick vision of the relief coming.
Yeah.
Well, you did the relief.
Yeah.
Was it the pill? Who knows, right? Anyway.
I definitely find this to be true. I am somebody who doesn't. If I can avoid, I won't take pills any longer. I did for the first 20 years of my life. Enough of them for the first 20 years of my life that And so, we can choose, and making that decision and knowing that that's a decision that you get to make really does um, empower you and let you see the power that you are. You know, I we've come to a point we've kind of run out of time a little bit here, but I would
Oh,
like to echo one more time. Just first of all, thank you so much for this wonderful conversation. I really truly enjoyed this. This has been so
me,
much.
me too. If you want to do it again, let me know.
I would. I really would. Thank you. Of course, I would. I'll connect with you and find a time that works for both us in the
Oh,
future. And please, if anyone is interested, the website here it's on the bottom of the screen, www.dwainehartman, all one word.com. Is this the correct spelling, just to be sure? Do you see this on the screen?
DwaineHartman.com. Yeah.
Okay. So anyone who would like to connect with Dr. Dwaine, this is a means of doing it. I also have your Calendly link in the description of this video for people to schedule time with
Yeah.
you.
On my site, they can schedule a free talk so we can talk about what it is they want to work on. And then it moves to, I'm running a 4 week Feel the Magic workshop online, and that's on my front page. And it starts on the 27th, I think.
Awesome.
But anyway, and then I have personal sessions that you can find under the process. It's called the process. And then I train Trance Alchemist and hypnotherapist.
Wow.
So
Well, you are a resource. I really enjoyed this. Oh, hey, the 27th, that's a Kazemi. That's a Mercury Kazemi. No, a Mercury Kazemi is happening right now. The 27th, there's a bunch of conjunctions occurring. By the way, for those of you who are in the energy of this, what's going on right now, you can go if you're in Africa, Asia, as well as Russia and Europe. Right now, there's an occultation of the lunar occultation of Neptune occurring. As well as, by the way, for those of you who have been asking, Mercury goes out of retrograde on the 28th, the day after what we mentioned here. So you got this. We do have some energy coming in from the sun. Most of it's been rings on the other side of the planet. So, one more announcement. It's my daughter's birthday this weekend, so I'm not going to be able to be joining you for the normal Friday group meeting that we typically do every Friday. We're canceling it for this week alone, but we will continue to do it every week after this week is over. So it's been my daughter asked if I turn off the phone and the computer for a couple of days for her birthday, and I am so grateful that was her request. So thank you so much, Ms. Dr. Dwaine. This has been so much fun. I look forward to chatting with you again.
I look forward to chatting with you again too, Pamela.
Thank you.